So what we're going to be breaking down today, giving you the little high level overview here. I have my top 5 predictions, 2025 predictions for online coaching, things to keep an eye on in the horizon that I think are going to play a big part in this year. We're going to break down personal goals, and then we're also going to break down your business goals today as well. Well, more or less, I'm going to be giving you the formula to do so. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, top 5 2025 predictions for online coaching. Okay, so I've been doing this time of year, I do a lot of research. I dig into people who are much more successful than me because that's how we learn. And I see where their head's at. And then I formulate and I think like, okay, cool. They may not be in our direct line of business, but how does it apply to what we do, right, in the online coaching space? So let's get into this first one here. All right, the first one here. Building an online business in real life is massively underrated. Okay. So I heard this actually from the Gymshark CEO. So the Gymshark CEO, he's worth a couple bill. All right. I don't know. You guys probably know Gymshark, I would imagine, right? But he's worth a couple bill. All right. And in the interview, they asked him, what was the most underrated thing to growing your business? And he said that building an online business in real life is massively underrated. So specifically for him, his big thing was meetups. And it's actually really funny. When I was getting into online fitness coaching back in like 2015, we went to one of his meetups and there was literally like only 20 people there. It was like really small. He was in the grassroots. I actually got to talk to him, the CEO of Gymshark. But now Gymshark at this massive company. The meetups have thousands and thousands of people, but he said that that was probably the most undervalued thing that helped him grow his online business was having these meetups where he can actually meet people face to face, shake their hand, and create that relationship. Another individual that does this, I've never heard him actually talk about this, but I know that this is a huge part of his strategy, is Andy Elliott. A lot of you guys know who Andy Elliott is. Maybe you follow him on Instagram, maybe you watch his YouTube, his podcast, whatever. But one thing that he does is every weekend he hosts an event. He owns an event space now, but he hosts an event. I also know this about his story as well. When he was first starting, he owned about I think he said it was like a 400 by 400 space, so a very tiny little room. And he said he would pack like tons of people in this room and he would do in-person objection handling seminars. And he said this was crucial to building his online business. Once again, meeting people face to face, right? That's the fastest way to actually build the relationship and break through that trust barrier that a lot of us struggle with when it's just online connection, right? So these are things to think about, right? I can promise you, a lot of other business mentors aren't talking about building an online business in real life. Why? Because it's not sexy, right? It's sexy to talk about, oh, we do this 100% online. But I challenge your thinking here, right? I challenge you to think and have a different perspective and potentially even a different strategy in 2025. Right? Maybe you're struggling a little bit on social media, right? Maybe you're struggling a little bit with the DMs. And maybe there's a massive opportunity for you right in your backyard, right? Right in your local network. So a couple things to consider here, right? And bring this back to the lab with you when you do your planning for 2025, right? Maybe in your local network, right, you can host a monthly group workout 100% for free, right? 100% for free. The goal is not to make money off your monthly group workout. The goal is to build connections, create awareness towards your online coaching, right? So monthly group workout in your local area, right? Invite individuals for free. And then obviously at the end of that, you can tell them about your service, right? Or you can hand out cards and tell them about your service. Okay. Another thing you could do is you can host a monthly dinner, right? You can host a monthly dinner and it can have no relevance to fitness coaching, right? You could just have the monthly dinner just to network, just to socialize, right? Just to build connections in the community, right? Another thing that I think would work really well is a bi-weekly or monthly group walk or hike, right? This happens in Austin all the time, but they, the more specifically the girls, they do like the hot girl walks. My wife in particular, she's building up a presence on TikTok. She actually just had a coffee named after her with a local coffee shop, and the coffee shop said, "Hey, why don't you host a hot girl walk around the Lady Bird Lake here in Austin, right?" So
Oh,
like these
what
things.
part?
Oh, just make sure you mute yourself there. These things build the connection, right? These things build the community. And like I said before, the fastest way to break down that trust barrier is to shake hands, to lock eyes, to meet people in person. Okay. Options are endless, right? There's many different ways that you guys can strike this, but I'm challenging you guys to think about what is something you could do in your local community, right? To build that trust and awareness towards your online venture. Now, the other part of this is it also becomes content for your page, right? If you're building this monthly group workout that you do for free, right? Or this hot girl walk or this walk with people, right? You could film content for it. And if people online see that you're doing this in person and that there's other people that are bought into you doing this in person, what does that build? That builds notoriety, right? It builds, wow, okay, that person has a group of people doing this in person, right? It builds the trust from afar, right? So it really kills two birds with one stone here. All right, that's point number one. If you guys do have questions, I see the chat is popping off. Let me just take a quick peek. If you guys do have questions, I would just jot them down on pen and paper. Like I said, I'm going to try to do Q&A at the end here, but just write down your questions for the end here. All right, now that's my prediction number one, that building an online business in real life is massively underrated. Those that actually take advantage of it would see a huge impact on their business, especially, I forgot to actually mention this point, especially in this automated AI world that we're about to go into. I have a prediction that it will be rejected in the beginning. Right? Okay, I don't know what the hell is going on. I really hope that that person's okay. I just muted them though. All right. Anyways, I really feel as though that will be rejected in the beginning and it won't be mass adopted. And that's why I think that doing it in person, right, is going to be a faster way of building connection there. Okay. That was point number one. All right, point number two, the trust recession continues. Okay, the trust recession. I've talked about this with you guys before, right? But what was the stat? Just trying to jog some memories here. What was the stat that I gave you guys about the trust recession? Okay, here it is. It used to take people about 7 to 14 times to see your content to make a buying decision, right? So they'd see a piece of content from you 7 to 14 times, and then they would be able to come to a decision if they were going to buy from you or if they were not going to buy from you, right? Now, with so many people in the market, which by the way, that's not me saying that it's saturated, okay? Look, every freaking industry is saturated. Go do a Google search for plumbers in your area. You're going to see hundreds of plumbers, right? It's the same thing for every single industry. So don't let that be a deterrent for you. But it's just the truth, right? This is a new industry. When more people come into the industry, it's going to become a lot more competitive. So it used to take people 7 to 14 times to make a buying decision. Now it takes them 27 times. 27 times to 27 pieces of content just to come to the point of making a decision, right? Just to come to the point of saying, will I buy or won't I buy? Right? It's not a guarantee that if they see your stuff 27 times that they're going to purchase from you, right? That's just to make a decision. So what does this mean? Right? My prediction here for 2025 is that the trust recession doesn't slow down, it increases, right? It becomes increasingly hard, or consumers are increasingly more wary or skeptical of people online. All right, so what does this mean? Got a lot of value for this one, so make sure you guys are paying attention here. Okay, number one, brand matters more than ever right now. Okay. Brand matters more than ever. One of the big mistakes, I've been doing online coaching for 10 years now. One of my big mistakes that I made earlier on in my career is I didn't value brand as much as I valued sales. Okay. I put sales on a pedestal. I was naturally really good at it, right? That was kind of my strong suit. So I leaned into it heavy and I was able to build this successful business. Now, if I focused on brand and sales, truthfully, I feel like I would be a lot farther, right? But I didn't really think of brand in that way. Obviously, I've had a change of heart here. Now, why does brand matter more than ever? Because obviously there's skepticism. When you have the brand, right, it can really break down those barriers and it can make sales a hell of a lot easier, right? Brand makes sales easier, right? Think about your most recent purchases, right? Everybody just bought something for Black Friday. You probably bought it from a brand that you trust and you didn't even think twice. right? You didn't even think twice. You just put your credit card in and you clicked purchase. Why is that? Because the brand made the sale easier. If the brand is weak, right, sales is harder, right? Sales is harder. If you feel like you have to really grind out for your sales, right, it probably means that we need to work more on our brand, right? If sales are coming easier, or when you're having conversations with people, they mention like, wow, that piece of content really stood out to me, or the conversation is just easier in general and you book the call, it's probably because your brand is working for you, not against you. Okay. So what does this mean? All right. So here's my prediction. Okay. This isn't anything new that you haven't heard, but I do think that this shift is going to continue to become more relevant. And this is extremely important for your content. So please pay attention. All right. Coaches who show more of who they are will win. Coaches who only post the same educational content as everyone else will not. Okay. So this is not me shaming educational content. You still should put out educational content. You have to show people you know what you're talking about. But if that is quite literally the only thing that you are posting, you are not going to have massive success in 2025. Okay, why is that? Because that type of content is a commodity now, right? You can go on your news feed, at least I see this all the time. I go on my news feed, I scroll, and it's fitness coaches saying the same thing over and over again, right? Which what is that going to do? Nobody's going to stop and actually listen, right? So it's still an important part of your content, because once again, we have to show that we know what we're talking about, but the coaches who actually show who they are going to be the coaches that win. What does that mean? Okay. It quite literally means, and don't get cute with it, right? I've been digging a lot into brand content, more specifically from Gary Vee recently. And one of the things that he said is people care too much about the aesthetic. They care too much about how their little grid looks. Like, who gives a shit, right? Excuse my language, but who gives a shit is basically what he was saying. Okay. So here's what you need to do. If you want to show people more of who you are, quite literally post things that you care about. Okay, my wife is a great example, right? So if she's going on a walk in Austin, she gets a coffee and she likes the coffee, she's going to pull out her phone and give a little review to that coffee, right? I'll make an example here. I have a bookshelf that I'm staring at. If I read a book and I was like, man, this book is freaking awesome, right? Maybe I make a little recommendation about that, right? Maybe I'm going on a hike this weekend and I want to bring people along on the hike, right? All these things really have zero relevance to what I do, right? Zero relevance to me being a business coach. But what does it do, right? It connects people, because let's say, for example, I post that I'm going on a hike, right? Somebody else, a fitness coach, is like, man, I really like hiking. Oh, cool. Chad likes hiking, right? Now there's a personal connection there. Then they go to my page. Then they see some of the educational content. Not only does Chad like hiking, but he actually knows what he's talking about. Okay, now I'm interested, right? It's that content that actually pulls people in. It's that content that actually gets them to go to your page, not the educational content. The educational content is second, right? It's the personal content. It's the things that you like to do in your life. It's the things you like to eat, right? It's those types of posts that get them to go to your page, and it's the educational content that then backs up that you actually know what you're talking about. Okay. Now, if you're going to be posting more personal content and less educational content, slight little recommendation here. Okay. In the copy. So when you're doing your caption in the copy, right, you could do a little PS, and the little PS could be your call to action to your coaching. Okay. You can also do, so if you have a video, and let's say you're taking, come do a hike with me kind of thing, right? You can have an ending card, right? So ending card means at the end of the video, you have an ending card. And there you can also do a call to action to your coaching as well, right? Also, if you're going to do this type of content, it's extremely important that you have the bio right? Because what did I say before? That type of content pulls them in, gets them to go look at the page. But if your bio is not right? The copy is not good. It's not clear what you do. There's not like just one singular link for them to apply, right? You have a link tree, you got 10,000 different links, right? Then it's going to be very hard for your page to have any conversion, right? We want a simple link, max 3. Ideally, if you can get it down to 1, that's perfect. We want simple, clear copy in the bio that educates them on what you do, but drives them to that link as well. Okay. All right. One other point here. The algorithm has changed. and it's actually in our benefit. Okay. So the algorithm, when I started 10 years ago, and honestly, this really started to change when TikTok became bigger and all the other platforms kind of adopted the TikTok model. It used to be that you had to amass a big following in order to actually get people to view your stuff. That's not the case anymore. All right. Everything's been TikTokified, meaning it's all the same style, it's all relatively the same algorithm on all the different pages, right? All that matters now is the individual post. Okay. So everybody has a shot to make a post go viral, even if they don't have thousands and thousands of followers, because that's how the algorithm is structured. Okay. The algorithm is structured that if you have a good piece of content and the AI can figure out who it needs to show it to, you have a shot of making a post go viral. Okay. Hopefully that gives you some hope. All right. So we're still talking about the trust recession. Okay. I know I'm going deep on this one because it's that important. Okay. So what do we talk about? Kind of recapping the trust recession here. Okay. People need to see your stuff 27 times before making a buying decision. Brand matters more than ever right now, right? Brand makes sales easier. Okay. The coaches who show more personal than educational are going to win in 2025. All right, we talked about your bio mattering. We talked about the PS, the copy, the ending card. We talked about the algorithm. The next thing here is your sales approach will continue to need to adapt. All right, adapt to what? Okay, it's going to have to be humanized. All right, I can't tell you how many times people will be like, is this an AI or is this real? Right? Which has forced us as a company to adapt our language to speak to truly speak like we're talking as a human being, right? We add the emoticons, right? We don't have absolutely perfect spelling or perfect grammar or perfect sentence structures, right? Like when you read our messages, you could tell, oh, that's actually a human, right? But because AI is a thing now, right? That's going to reduce people's trust, right? We need to become more humanized when we're having DM conversations or sales follow-up questions or sales follow-up conversations. Okay. In our sales approach, we must provide value. In the DMs, you guys must provide value. Now, just giving you a simple way of doing that. When you get to the point of asking them, hey, what's your challenge around XYZ goal? And they tell you what that challenge is, send them a free resource. Be like, oh, okay, here's a little thing that can help you out, right? Send them a free resource. Don't be afraid to provide value in before they even purchase from you in that DM conversation. Okay. Now we must focus on relationship building and sales. Okay. So C and D are kind of two in the same. So I'll read them both and then I'll explain. So you must focus on relationship building. All right. You must be more patient and focus on long-term nurture. All right. I guarantee a lot of you on the call right now, if you get a no from somebody, right, you're DMing them, you get a no, or they ghost you and they stop responding, you guys throw them out the window and you say, ah, not worth it. Not worth my time. Or maybe you're saying it subconsciously if you're not saying it consciously. Okay. It's a huge, huge mistake, right? What did I just say? I said that people need to see your stuff 27 times before they make a buying decision. Okay. So that means that if that statistic is true, which it is, then that means a very small percentage of people are going to buy with you the very first conversation that you have. Okay. So focus on, obviously go for it, right? In the initial conversation, go for it, right? Take them through the script and try to pitch them for a call. But if they say no, right, add them to a list, right? Add them to a list and call it your long-term nurture list, right? Every other week, send them a resource saying, hey, just checking in, just made this resource, wanted to send it to you. Right. And then maybe, once a month, you check in on their goal. You say, hey, Sally, I know we talked in August and you told me that losing 30 pounds was important to you. Is that goal still important to you? Oh, it is? Amazing. How's that going? Oh, you're struggling? And then you can re-invite them back on a call. Right. So every other week, send them a resource. Once a month, check in on their goal. Very simple formula. All right. Man, this is good shit. This is really good shit. Okay. I feel like I'm crushing it. So last thing here is in terms of trust recession, having a free online community is going to be critical. Okay. And getting really good at cultivating that community is going to be critical. Now, I'm not talking about paying clients. I'm talking about a free community for people who are interested in your program. They're not yet a client. Okay, that could be done on WhatsApp, that could be done on Facebook, that could be done on school, right? These are all phenomenal platforms, but this needs to be a big, big focus for you in 2025. Why? People want community first and foremost, and that's more important now than ever. In the post-COVID AI world, people want community, they want connection. And then number two, this is going to, once again, move them one step closer to you, right? Because you have them as not a follower. And then if they're in your free community, I would consider that as 1 degree closer to them becoming a client than them even being a follower on your page. Okay, which means they're going to trust you more, right? Or at least they're going to be closer to you, which is an opportunity for you to build that trust. Okay, I'm going to move on before I literally waste the whole hour on my predictions here. All right, so my prediction number 3, and you're already starting to see this happen very little. I think we're kind of just in the beginning of this, but I really think that this will come on even stronger in 2025. All right, so what is that? Group coaching models and subscription models will become widely adopted in the fitness coaching space. Okay, I'm going to break all that down for you. So, what would be the price point for a group coaching model? Okay, a group coaching in subscription model, view them as 2 separate things. They're not 2 in the same. Group coaching and subscription are separate. I'll talk about group coaching first. All right, so group coaching price points, no less than $100 a month, but no more than $250 a month. Okay, so no less than $100 a month, no more than $250 a month. If it's $250 or more, it's going to be more considered a high ticket opposed to a group coaching model. All right, group coaching models traditionally are not high ticket models. Okay, the other thing I was going to say here, you would still sell this as packages, right? 4 months, 6 months, 12 months as an example. All right, obviously, the shorter the term, the higher the per month, the longer the term, the lesser the per month. What's the benefit of this? Okay, the benefit of this for you guys is these are extremely solid downsells. Okay, these aren't things that I would highly advertise. These aren't things that I would, try to sell on the forefront on your sales call. High ticket is still the best for growing your business, still the best for going full time, still the best for getting the client results, right? But these are extremely effective downsells, group coaching. Okay, what is a really simple, what is a group coaching offer? Okay, group coaching offers have a community, right? So for example, let's say you hosted your community in school, right? Or WhatsApp is another example, right? You have weekly group calls, usually 1, depending on the size of your group, right? If you have hundreds of people in there, maybe you need more than 1, right? But if you have, under 50 people in there, 1 group call a week is good, right? Custom macros, you could do custom workouts, meaning that every month you actually customize the individual workout for the person in the program. That's an option. Or another option is you just do blanket workouts. That's an option as well. Obviously, if you're going to do blanket workouts, you're not going to be able to charge as much. Okay, and then custom macros as well. And then usually these programs offer resources too, PDFs, things of that nature. Okay, now we're talking subscription model. Okay, subscription model is usually under $100 a month. Okay, usually the price point for that is around $97 a month. Okay, what people get with a subscription model is they get workouts, not customized. Okay, so different options, templates, more or less. They get meal suggestions, they get macro calculators, so not custom macros, and they get some form of a community, a thread where people can ask their questions and chat. No group calls. Okay. Now, my recommendation, don't do both. Do one or the other, make it your downsell, don't make it your predominant source of income. Cool. That's number 3. All right. Number 4, food quality will be a hot topic with RFK Jr.'s increased presence. You're already starting to see it, especially when Trump was elect. You saw a ton of fitness people posting about their opinions on RFK and seed oils and things like that. I think that's just the beginning. Okay. I think that this upcoming year and potentially multiple years, we'll see how things go. I think that one, it's going to be more adopted, like being healthy and fitness will be more widely adopted in our culture, which is good news for you guys, right? Obviously, that puts you in business. But I think from a social media context, I think that talking about not just like macros and calories and weight loss, I think that those days are kind of behind us. I think it's going to be more talking about wellness and food quality and things of that nature. Okay. So something to consider, especially this upcoming year in terms of your content creation. All right. Number five, prediction number five, specialized niches will continue to gain more traction. All right. This one, I would say I actually made this same prediction. I went back, I recorded a video last year on my 2024 predictions, and I went back and watched them. And I had this prediction in there, and I don't think it's fully actualized yet. So I brought it into this year as well. And I'll explain what I'm talking about here in a second. Okay, so the market will continue to shift away from generalized fitness coaching and it will move more towards hyper-specific niches. Okay, for example, like pre and postnatal moms, executives with limited time, individuals with unique health conditions, right? Clients are now going to be looking for those specific experts in the very specific niche, right? Giving you more examples here, I think you can kind of break this into two categories, right? You have specific person, but then you also have specific problem. So specific person, right? What I think a lot of coaches are still doing is they're being very general, right? They say, oh, I help busy men lose weight, right? Like, okay, cool. So does thousands of other coaches, right? So if we're talking about separating ourselves out, I think that we do have to continue to be more specific with our language here, right? So instead of saying, I help busy men lose weight, maybe it's I help busy fathers, right? A specific category of men lose weight. Or taking it a step further, I help divorced fathers lose weight. Or I help first-time fathers lose weight, right? First-time father, just have a kid, forgot about their health and fitness, gained 30 pounds. That audience needs a health coach, right? So I'm talking about like getting very specific in what type of person we help, right? So that's one avenue you can go, right? Another avenue we can go is specific problem, okay? So a general statement, like what I think coaches are still doing, which would be, there would be a red X next to this one. I help men get stronger and more confident. Okay, cool. Now, here would be what I would think is a more specific way of saying the same thing. I help men naturally increase their testosterone so they can feel stronger and more confident. The specific problem that we're helping is men with low testosterone naturally increase their testosterone, right? So we got to start thinking about these things, right? If we are, and maybe some of you are already ahead of the curve, right? Maybe some of you on the call already have a very specific niche, right? But if you're listening to the call and you don't, and you have a very generalized niche, right? It's time to really start thinking about this a little bit more. All right. I threw in a bonus one here. This was another one that was in my predictions for this past year, but also one that I think has still not actualized yet. I actually think that this one is even more green, meaning I don't think that this is widely adopted yet at all. Okay. Wellness coaching will continue to take over weight loss coaching. Okay. I think that this is where culture is going. I think this is what people care about more. And I think the thing that really shows this is the gym space. Okay. There are gyms that are dominating it. There are gyms that are pretty much on the brink of collapse. Okay. Equinox, Lifetime, those are businesses that are booming. Why are those businesses booming? Well, one, they charge higher price points, right? High ticket. But two, they are more all-encompassing, right? You go to an Equinox, there's a sauna, there's a cold plunge, right? There's a nutrition lab, right? It's all-encompassing. It's focused more on wellness than just being a place where you could pick things up and put things down. Lifetime is structured the same way, right? 24-hour fitness, crunch fitness, right? Just a place that you can go in and get a good sweat, get a good workout, right? Sure, yes, I'm sure they make, good money, but though they're losing in competition to the businesses, to the gyms that are more all-encompassing and more wellness. I think that shift is going to happen in the online space as well, right? So you got to think about In 2025, how can you incorporate other elements of wellness into your program aside from just aesthetics, right? Aside from just weight loss or muscle gain or more like the traditional bodybuilding route there. Okay. Yep. Last point I made here: culture is shifting. I feel like the culture is caring way more about overall wellness, longevity, and quality of life, more so than just looking jacked and looking lean. All right. Like I said, we got a lot to cover today. If you have questions, make sure you write them down. I'll try to make sure that I save enough time for Q&A. I'll even go over time if you guys want to. All right. So we went over the top 5 predictions. I threw a 6th little bonus one in there. All right. Let's get into the actual planning portion of this. So with the planning portion, a lot of this is self-explanatory. A lot of this is like, these are the things that I want you guys to do off the call, meaning like this weekend or for the rest of the week, like spend time doing this. I'll just quickly explain my expectations, just so you guys have context. All right, so step number 1, I want you guys to take your personal goals seriously. All right, you guys have heard this from me. If you haven't, maybe this will be the first time. The foundation of your career is your personal development. All right. I found that out the hard way. Coming up in this space, it was probably the only thing, like I really cared about my personal development. I was extremely consistent with it. And I was probably consistent with it for about 8 years. Okay. In 2023, I was kind of at the peak of like my success. I was crushing it. I've made the most money that I've ever made in my life. I've done over 8 figures in sales. Like I was accomplishing things that like, I was like, holy shit, I can't even believe I'm doing this. I'm not even 30 years old yet. I was literally 28 when I made my first 8 figures in sales. Because of that, I got a little cocky, got a little full of myself, and I let off the gas. And I let off the gas on my personal side, right? I was working out, but I wasn't pushing myself. I didn't really care about my diet that much. I was just like, I'll just work out. I'll stay relatively lean. Stop reading the books. Stop listening to the podcasts, right? Stop doing the things that got me to where I wanted to be. And that led me to a very tough stretch of business, the toughest stretch of business that I've had in the 10 years of me doing this. A stretch of business that taught me a lot, but above all, taught me that personal development is the foundation to your career. All right, so take this shit seriously. And I promise you, if you do, you will see the effects in your business. It's all melds into one here, right? How you are doing in your relationship does affect your business. How you're doing in your fitness does affect your business, right? If your relationship is crap, if your relationship isn't going well, right, and that's bringing negative energy into you, guess what? That's how you're going to show up, right? You really think that like if your relationship is shitty, that you're going to show up your best on social media, or you're going to want to show up on social media? You're going to want to get on the sales call? Probably not. You're going to be stressed out, right? You're going to be anxious, right? So focus on that. Promise it will benefit the business. Okay. So more specifically, what I want you guys to do, and you guys may or may not have done this. This exercise is in the course, but I want you to revisit this exercise. Okay. So we're going to identify your 4 buckets. Whoops. Had a brain fart there. We're going to identify your 4 buckets for 2025. All right. So what is the 4 bucket approach? For actually in the chat, how many of you, when I say 4 buckets approach, how many of you know what I'm talking about? I just want to make sure I'm best using our time here and not explaining something that you guys already know. Okay, a lot of you already know. Marshall has no idea. Nope. Okay. Okay. All right. It's like 50-50. So this is going to be in the mindset module. So when you guys are going through the course, I'll explain this in the mindset module. I'll just do the Cliff Note version right now. So, okay. In life, you have buckets, right? Certain categories of life. Okay. Now we only have so much that we can give into all of those buckets, right? So we want to identify what 4 buckets are the most important. And then from there, we want to identify out of those 4 buckets, right, how much water or attention are we going to put in each, right? So we kind of have to categorize it. What's number 1? What's number 2? What's number 3? What's number 4? Okay. Then from there, once you have what's important and the order of which it is important, you then can structure your schedule around those 4 things. Okay, what does this do? A lot of people say that they need balance, right? We all know that balance is, it's irregular. It's not this consistent thing. But at the end of each day, if you poured into each of those four buckets, doesn't matter the time that you allotted for each, but at the end of the day, if you can say that, yep, I did that, I did that, did that, did that, and you checked off all four buckets, you can say that you had a successful yet balanced day. Okay. That's it in a nutshell. I talk about it a lot deeper in the mindset module. All right. So what I want you guys to do, I want you to identify what are the four buckets, the four areas of life that matter to you most, right? Is it fitness? Is it business? Right? Is it spiritual? Is it relational? Is it mindset? Right? Sit down and think about that. You don't have to do that right now. This is the activities after the call. All right. Then you're going to identify the order of the four buckets, right? So what's the order of those four buckets? All right, then from there, you're going to shape your schedule and day around that. All right, so I'll give you an example to like kind of bring this full circle here. All right, so for me, business is obviously extremely important. My personal development is extremely important. All right, my relationships are extremely important, and then my health and fitness are extremely important. So those are my four buckets. All right, so what does my schedule look like to make sure that I meet and match all of these things, even if I'm not giving equal time to each of the four areas? All right, when I wake up, I go to the gym. Okay, I work out for an hour. Boom, check that bucket off. All right, then from there, I'm working, and I'm working majority of the day, right? It could be an eight-hour day, it could be a 12-hour day, somewhere within that range, okay? Personal development, forgot to talk about that one. Once I'm done with my workout, I then do actually allot 30 minutes to personal development, right? So I have my own routine for that. Then I bang out work. At the end of the day, right, around 7 o'clock, I usually go to bed at 9:30. That saves me 2.5 hours to eat dinner with my wife, watch a few shows, and then we go to bed, right? So by the end of the day, I've put in time in all four areas that matter to me most, and that's a successful day for me. And that's how I shape my days, is to make sure that I'm checking off all four of those buckets and pouring into those areas that matter to me. All right, so you guys will identify that after the call. All right, when you are done with that, I then want you guys to come over here and go through our goal setting sheet. Okay, this goal setting sheet is going to be specific goals. All right, specific goals for your four buckets. All right, for 2025. So you've identified the four buckets, you put them in order, right? You kind of structured your day around it. Right now, we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to identify specific goals for each of those buckets. All right, and there's directions here. If you guys were good at school and follow directions, this will be self-explanatory for you. Just for a time perspective, I'm not going to go through the directions on the call, but obviously if you have any questions, just make sure you ask your one-to-one coach. All right, so that's step one, right? We focused on the personal first. We focused on the foundation first, all right? Step two is going to be identifying the big picture. All right, so when I say big picture, now we're moving into business, all right? So here are the things that I want you guys to do, all right? Oh, yes, sorry. This is actually talking points for me. So here are big mistakes that I see when it comes to identifying the big picture for your business, right? The vision for your business, right? There's really two mistakes that I see. All right. Mistake number one, too many coaches are worried about the day-to-day and they don't ever take time to plan out the vision for their company, right? And then it feels like every day is like a whirlwind, right? So right now, if you're feeling like every day is a whirlwind, you have no idea why you're doing the things that you're doing. It doesn't feel very intentional at all. You're just kind of going shooting off your hip, and it just feels like kind of chaotic. It's probably because we're not really clear on the vision, right? We just got to reverse engineer our goal, right? We got to figure out what is it that we're working towards? What's the lifestyle? What's the type of business? What's the type of client? What's the type of impact, right? When we're clear on that, we could then structure our day-to-day to work towards that. All right, so that's what this exercise is going to help you guys do. All right, the second mistake that I see is, and this one's big, so please pay attention to this one. And maybe this one will hit home for you. Most coaches aren't honest with themselves on what they actually want for their business, right? What human need are you trying to scratch, right? And think about this. What human need are you trying to scratch? Do you want your business because it's the human need that you're trying to scratch is contribution and impact? Is that your number one? I grew this business because, I really want to contribute. I want to give back. I want to make an impact, right? Is the reason that you started your business for growth, right? You want to see how far you can take it. You want to see how big you can make this business, right? Growth is the human need that we're trying to scratch here, right? Is it significance? Is it freedom, right? What's most important to you? Maybe all of these are important to you, but what is most important? What is the reason that you got into business? There are a lot of coaches that I've seen that got into business saying, I'm going to grow the biggest business possible. I'm going to have a huge team. I'm going to dominate it because I saw another person on Instagram do it. And then they get into it and they build this big team. And then next thing you know, they're like, yeah, I actually don't want to have a big team. I just want to have a solopreneur business. I want to travel the world and I just want to make some good money, right? And both of those things are fine. Growing the big team is fine. Doing the solopreneur venture is fine, right? But why did you, and be honest with yourself, why did you start this business? It's extremely important. If you're not being truthful with yourself and not being honest with yourself, you're going to resent your business. You're going to hate your business. And that's not why we got into this, right? We got into this to love our businesses. So be honest with your intent there. All right. Now, from there, okay, so those are just big mistakes that people make here, okay? But when you get to this point, you guys are going to spend a lot of time in reflection, all right? So as you can see, this is the reflection section. I have all the questions that I want you guys to go through here. A lot of reflection questions. Like I said, you're going to spend a lot of time in reflection. This is extremely important. We have to do the reflection piece before we do the vision piece, okay? Now, once the reflection is done, then you're going to reconnect with the vision. All right. So I have all the questions here that I've listed out that I want you guys to go through to reconnect with the vision. Vision meaning the purpose of the business. Okay. Once you have gone through the reflection and the reconnection to the vision, I then want you guys to create your yearly sales targets. Okay. So I have the whole entire document here. This is the same document that's in the target setting module in the course. All right, so when you get to this point, you can use the target setting module as reference or a guide, or you can also use this Google Doc here as well. All right, but you're going to identify your yearly sales targets. Okay, that's going to give you clarity on the sales activities you need to do to be successful in 2025. All right, so that's step one, personal goals. Step two, looking at the bigger picture. All right, step three, we're going to do some more analysis. And then we're going to finalize your professional goals for 2025. All right, see some stuff going on in the chat here. Boom, boom, boom. Yes. Yep. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it. All right. So step three here, all right, analysis and finalizing professional goals for 2025. All right, analysis in business is extremely important. All right, and you guys might get to this point and be like, oh shit, I'm not tracking any data. All right. And if the only thing you take away from that section is in 2025, I need to track my data, that's a win. All right. So don't stress out. If you get to this point, you're like, I don't have data. That just tells me that's one of your tasks for 2025. All right. Well, let's go through it. So when I say analysis, there's a couple of things that we're going to look at. All right. So the first thing is we're going to look at the analysis of the data from your company. More specifically, your sales data, okay? And then we're also going to look at your client delivery data, all right? The sales data, I'm giving you the modules here, okay? So the sales data is all the data that we tell you to track in the sales data basics module, okay? The client delivery data is all the data that we tell you to track in the client delivery module. Okay, so you're going to look at the KPIs that we recommend in those modules, and then how you actually did in 2024. And if you're looking at me with crossed eyes right now, like I said, don't get overwhelmed. That just means that in 2025, you need to start tracking your data. You know exactly what modules to go through now to learn how to do that. Okay, so that's the first thing you're going to analyze. Okay, the second thing you're going to analyze, and this is actually the most important thing that you're going to analyze, is you're going to do a full program analysis. Okay, if you're brand spanking new to NLCA, obviously we're going to help you build out these things, right? But if you've had at least 3 months in NLCA and you've worked with clients, then you could do the program analysis. If you're brand new, you haven't worked with any clients, just whatever I'm about to say, you can throw it out the window. But if you've worked with clients in 2024, you should 100% do this. Okay. So what is that? All right, step one, if you've already been sending out surveys to clients, I would spend time reading every single survey that you got in 2024. All right, and I would be looking for patterns, right? If you see, your client Sally said that your program sucks and she's the only person that said your program sucks, who cares? All right, that doesn't matter, right? We want to see patterns, right? If we see that, multiple people say that this part of the program could be better, probably means that that part of the program could be better, right? So don't worry about the ones, worry about the masses making a pattern of feedback there. Okay, another thing I would do. So if you haven't started the survey process yet, meaning you're not surveying your clients, that's okay. All right, deep breath, that's okay. All right, but what I would do between now and the end of the year is I would create a short survey and provide that to your clients to collect the data that maybe you haven't been collecting for the year. Okay, and then I recommend the questions that you should ask. I also do recommend you keep those surveys anonymous. You're going to get a lot more people to fill it out than if it's not anonymous. All right. So we come down to the last part here, right? So this section here in step 3 is analysis, but then once we're done with the analysis, it's finalizing our professional goals, okay? So for finalizing the professional goals, just like the personal goals, I created a worksheet for you guys. The directions are on that worksheet, so it should be pretty self-explanatory. If you're struggling with it, obviously bring it to your one-to-one coach. Or if you don't have a one-to-one coach, you could bring it to the group calls and we can help work you through that as well. All right, trying to save time for Q&A. I know we're running out of time. The last thing that I would recommend, and this is step 4, finalization, is be patient with this process, meaning everything that we went through today in terms of preparing for 2025, be patient, right? We're about 3 weeks out, okay? So we still got plenty of time, but this work should start this week. So I am putting a little bit of urgency on you. Tomorrow's Thursday, Friday, right? So between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I would start this process. All right. Obviously, we want to have it ready. So by 1/1, we're hitting the ground running, we're crushing it. But my recommendation here is be patient and go through this. Like if it takes you 3 to 5 sessions to go through this and go back and review it multiple times, that's fine, right? Like we're not robots, we're not chat GPT, right? We might have different perspectives on different days, right? You might have an idea on Thursday and then you look at that same idea on Sunday and you go, oh, that's a stupid idea, right? So you might change perspectives on the days there. So that's why I'm a big proponent of doing at least 3 to 5 sessions of this brainstorm work just to see, just to actually get your actual real answer there. Okay. The last recommendation I would make when you're going through this type of work is try to do this type of work on a low to no call day, meaning you should have pretty much nothing on your calendar but this. Why? Because when we have a lot of things on our calendar and we don't have an adequate amount of time blocked out for this brainstorming, right? We can be in a very chaotic mindset, which makes it really hard to come up with good ideas. Right. So I would do this when you can block off, a significant amount of time. I'd say 4 hours is probably a really good time to just think and be with this sheet. And if you're like 4 hours, Chad, I don't have fucking 4 hours by myself, right? Like tell your husband, tell your wife, right? Like, hey, can you watch the kids for the next couple hours? Like, I really need to focus on this. It's extremely important for our business in 2025. Okay. Hopefully they'll understand. All right, y'all. I know I only saved 7